try to make me feel embarrassed. Their attempts have been in vain, but they tell me I'm the one with problems. They're the ones who are insane, so for those who want but won't admit it, you shouldn't feel like that, cause you could be 20% cooler and 10 seconds slower. Shout it out. I'm proud to be a Brony. Yeah, yeah. I'm proud to be a Brony.
Hello mayors and gentle cults, my fellow bronies. Welcome to another episode of I'm Brony and I'm Proud. I've got Alexander Peters with me. G'day, Alex.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
Doing pretty good so far.
Excellent, excellent. So, how did you become a brony?
I had heard about it a bit at school from people I knew. It was enough to pique my interest, but not quite enough to get around to watching it. I just knew it was a thing at that point. I happened to have a friend who I hadn't seen in a long time come over to my house to see me. I took it upon myself to ask him about it, and he just said it was okay. So I began to just look it up while he was there, and came across certain fan fictions. One you might have heard of is called Cupcakes. Completely out of context, I read the story. And once I was done, I thought, maybe I could start watching this. Started watching it, got pretty damn into it, and watched most of the first season pretty much the whole night until I was barely conscious.
That's awesome. Doesn't seem to be uncommon where bronies birthed into the world do the all-night marathons. So how did you feel the next day?
I actually continued watching it after my friend left.
Awesome. So, tell us more about you. Who is Alexander Peters, apart from being cool-ass brony?
High school student. Hobbies-wise, it's mostly gaming and writing, I suppose. Not much else. I'm not quite far enough in life to have very outstanding features.
Fair enough. You spoke a bit about writing. What kind of writing?
Blogging. I also edit some stuff for some people that I kind of know.
Kind of know is good. If you're doing editing or anything for close friends, by the chance that they don't like it is like, sometimes I've experienced firsthand where, you work on creative projects with other people, and if it doesn't turn out exactly the way they envisioned, most sometimes extreme cases, promote friendship throughout the process. But friendship is probably one of the things which tends to end. The intrinsic message of My Little Pony is, well, friendship is magic. I'd be curious to see how Main 6 would do well in a filmmaking situation. Have you been in that situation before, or probably not yet?
I mean, it's been a bit more petty, not like friendship breaking, but general arguments over like who's going to be the leader and such.
I can only imagine what Twilight Sparkle would say in a letter to Celestia in that situation. So is writing one of your aspirations for the future, or do you have other interests in mind?
Writing, I don't really plan to have as my main money maker. It's more of just a private hobby. Job-wise, I suppose it would be stuff to do with gaming because I actually like making stuff for, but it's hard to get a proper job with that.
I think the important thing is to play to your strengths, and if your strength is video games, go for it. I know from experience working in the startup scene, there are a lot of video game startups because you never know, it could be the next big thing. If you could, take us through the process of the most recent story or most recent project you've done written-wise.
Usually whenever I try to write, unless I'm continuing a project obviously, I try to do something completely different just so I can understand how to do that for future reference. So I can hope to incorporate that into something bigger, which I guess is my plan. I guess I value originality, and although I don't consider inspiration copying, obviously, but prefer to just try to learn stuff on my own.
I met recently an artist at a gallery, and he took a lot of his inspiration from video games. Do you find that sort of maybe your experience in the video game world that may have a tendency to feed into your written word?
Yes. Something I like to do when I'm starting like a role-playing game, like any Bethesda game or something, I like to write 10,000 word backstory and personality traits list, and sometimes I would take inspiration from gaming worlds or straight up write fan fictions, I suppose, in those worlds.
Fantastic. Has there been a particular video game that sort of like that light bulb that went off in your head and say, yes, I can sort of take something from this but create something entirely my own?
The only one that comes to mind really is Dark Souls. I liked the storytelling where it's try to connect the dots and such, and I actually found that for school projects the last few months I would incorporate a lot of Dark Souls-esque, even write stuff in the Dark Souls word for homework because I could.
Dark Souls is definitely rich, one word to describe it. Fully safe to say that My Little Pony is probably not one of the reference points or, influences in your work.
It actually, I think, started my writing craze. Like a week after I finished season 2, I just started writing a fan fiction and went, wow, this is actually fun. Then I watched season 3 and continued writing it, and then put it down and read it and said, wow, this is terrible. I want to get better. And that's where I started.
So My Little Pony was a catalyst.
Yes.
And was it My Little Pony in particular, or would you say that there were other things that contributed to this catalyst effect?
The only thing that can come to mind is that people commented, and I don't actually know if My Little Pony had anything to do with this, I would really begin to start doing stuff like writing, and I got passionate about more stuff, and I began to think about stuff, and that's probably why I started taking writing as a serious thing.
Is your family quite supportive in your artistic endeavors? Are they supportive in your interest in My Little Pony?
Yeah, my family is quite supportive. I have some siblings who actually agreed to help me write some stories. They definitely better writers than me, and were able to edit and give me good advice and really teach me a lot about writing. And my parents, well, they accepted it, but they seemed a bit worried, but no embarrassment that I noticed or anything like that.
I think my family accepts it, but they still have trouble dealing with it. It's kind of funny. And of course, being Brony is one part of one's identity, of course, more facets to it. We can learn a lot about ourselves. And of course, we get to a point, when we want to branch out and can learn more about ourselves through the eyes of others. Here's a hypothetical. With your experience in writing and experience in gaming, if you had to design a game, how would you describe style of design?
I suppose more attracted to open-ended stuff where the player decides very much what they're doing, where to go, how to do it, stuff like that. So make sure to leave enough direction so that the player knows what they're doing. I tend more to observe than create.
In terms of the show, I guess one of the things that makes it Brony is the adoption of the values that is set by the show. So the elements of harmony. Is that still something that remains intrinsically connected to yourself and to your life as you know it as it to be at the moment?
It made me think about the stuff, like all the values in the show, a bit more.
Awesome. And you were talking about being an observer and checking out the stuff online. Are there any names that tend to stick out for you? Is it YouTube based, or is it DeviantArt based, or is it forum based, or like you're saying, fan fiction based?
Guess I would spend more time with the writing side.
Do you tend to read a lot of the fan fiction that's out there? One of the crossovers that sticks out is Fallout Equestria. Have you read that?
Just finished it twice recently.
Is there anything that particularly sticks out for you on the story? It could be characters or themes.
It was the first heroic book I read. Well, I mean, a book about a hero. I'm used to reading the sort of stories where people either accepted it or didn't regard it. So it was somewhat interesting to read I suppose, humble side of the spectrum. There is a lot more to it, but yeah, I found that interesting that you can have a character like that in such a position.
Totally agree. Particularly impressed with that 3D animation, one of the early parts of the story. Have you seen that?
Yes, I was quite impressed with it too.
Pretty awesome. My first reaction to it, I didn't notice main character. It was actually in a monologue. I didn't, and someone told me, no, it's just what she's thinking for about the first minute or so. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm dense. And then, I watched the whole thing. And have you been to the conventions or something that you go to? Or is it something perhaps you may, choose to steer away from?
I recently went to PonyCon, the first convention I'd ever been to, and the only one still. Quite interested in them, and hopefully there's more.
I guess our listeners, because myself, would be very curious. Care to describe your experience? What stood out most for you at PonyCon?
I suppose it would be the community. It feels kind of foolish, but even at that point, I was like, okay, maybe I am just the odd one out. And I was a bit nervous as I was approaching, like maybe I'll look like an idiot. So like hundreds of adults dressed up in these cosplays lined up outside the place and thought, okay, this is going to be good.
Did you develop new friendships as a result of the convention?
It was very interesting to be able to interact with all these people because we were all there for the same reason. You could strike up a conversation pretty quickly and didn't do much else apart from the shopping whenever we got free time.
Was there any item that you acquired that continues to shine to this day?
Posters, and yeah, they're still up on my wall.
Has your room turned to a bit of a fan cave yet? Is it totally overrun by ponies, or is it still in control?
Overrun by ponies, games, and zombies.
Zombies, you say? Okay, so yeah, alrighty. Have you been to the zombie shuffle?
I'm not familiar with it, no.
Basically, 50 to 100 people dress up as zombies and march through the Melbourne CBD.
Oh man, that's awesome.
I think I've got some friends who do it as well. So it's facebook.com/Melbourne Zombie Shuffle. Yeah, check it out. I think there's also that live zombie game, IRL shooter. Lazarus. Friends invited me to go to a live action video game, pretty much.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard of this.
Last year, it was Patient Zero, I believe. So definitely worth a look. I'm proud to say that I was zombie for a day. It's twice I've been a zombie in a short film.
Quite a career.
It's certainly interesting. Actually, the first time was basically combined zombies with potato chips. Well, on that note, Alexander, I want to thank you very much for being on I'm Brony and I'm Proud. It's been a pleasure to have you.
It was fun.
Thanks again. Take care.
All right.
Bye. This has been I'm Brony and I'm Proud. Lucky Knight speaking. Thanks for listening. Remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at IBAIPshow. Proud to be a Brony. Intro and outro by Black Griffin. My Little Pony, friendship is magic.
My little pony. I used to wonder what friendship could be. My little pony.